Money issues are the number one reason for divorce. About 36 to 40% cite financial tension as the primary cause. Undergoing the catastrophe of your divorce, has your life improved after all of the shit that you had to go through? Is divorce like as catastrophic for the kids, or is there ever situations where it could be a good thing for everybody involved? Ryan, what advice would you give to someone rebuilding after a divorce of financial collapse? All right, so welcome back to another episode of the CINO Legacy Podcast, where cryptocurrency meets private aviation. We talk all things crypto, all things financial planning, generational wealth. Sometimes we have guests. Sometimes it's just me and Ryan CINO, the founder of CINO Token. He invented this cryptocurrency specifically for 10% discounts in the aviation space. He owns his own aircraft maintenance company called
Rapid Aircraft Maintenance Services
in Teterboro, New Jersey. So if you own a jet or know somebody who does, 10% discounts if you pay using CINO Token. Get on that, CINOtoken.com. Today we have a guest, Michelle CINO. This is Ryan's wife. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I know
Under
you've been
much
asking.
duress.
I know. I love talking on camera.
It's taken like 7 episodes, right?
Yeah.
About time.
Yeah.
Is divorce like as catastrophic for the kids, or is there ever situations where it could be a good thing for everybody involved?
In my experience, divorce is not a catastrophic thing. It's hard for the kids. It's hard for everyone. You know, it hurts, I'm sure, but you get through it and support the kids.
Yeah, the kids are the most important.
Keep it about the kids, you know, keep it positive.
What if the other parent isn't on like the same wavelength?
That's their problem.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Always be the better person. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And you know, as many problems or as negative as the divorce might have been, don't ever talk bad about the other parent. My brother told me that.
I see.
Yeah.
Good advice. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I never forgot it, and it's true.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. So in your opinion, why do you think most couples avoid talking about money until it's too late?
I mean, it is a touchy subject. You know, it's like politics and religion outside, you know, don't ever talk about that. But money, I don't know. In any of my relationships, I've not ever had an issue talking about money with my partner.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
we talk
honest.
openly
Yeah.
about money.
Okay, money issues are the number one reason for divorce. About 36 to 40% financial tension as the primary cause. That's wild.
It is. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So not even like two people like outgrowing each other in like a marriage.
Well, it's
more-
stressful,
yeah.
you know, especially when you're working your butt off and there's not enough of it. But you have to learn what your priorities are.
You have to make sacrifices.
And where you can cut back, make sacrifices. I mean, you know, I had the experience in my first marriage. My husband lost his job, and I was a stay-at-home mom with 4 kids. I had a career. I'm a nurse. So I went back to work. You know, we figured out a way to make it work, and we cut back on everything. We didn't go out to eat. We didn't get special snacks, you know, toys for the kids, and you make it through.
I see.
So, yeah.
In most marriages, one person handles the bills. The others just trust it's handled. Crypto flips that. It gives everyone direct control, total transparency. Ryan, do you think that crypto could actually save relationships because it forces transparency?
I believe that crypto, since 1% of the planet right now is investing in cryptocurrency. 1%. That's really not a lot compared. When you ask me if crypto can save marriages, it could probably save the marriages that are worried about money, right? The marriages that fail because of money, crypto could do that because if invested properly, there's a nice little nest egg to make things comfortable, right? There's no arguments over money because we have a bunch of it.
Keywords.
Keywords.
Invested properly.
Invested properly, right? So Could crypto save? Yes, crypto can do it. Traditional investing can do it. But when you have couples or families that are living paycheck to paycheck and spending everything they earn, either keeping up with the Joneses or just mismanagement of money or not investing in themselves or not paying, all the things that I say that we should do, having the emergency fund, pay yourself first. Couples that don't do that. So it's bad when one person does it. Imagine if two people aren't doing it, and those two people are responsible for creating an empire. So now you have two people mismanaging money, and that empire crumbles. Because what did you say that the average credit card debt between couples is $100,000 in credit card debt? Can you imagine what's the interest rate on credit cards now? 14%, 18%? Can you imagine that monthly minimum payment?
I can honestly say I've never had credit card debt. As long as I've had a credit card, we always made sure that we only spent what we had enough to pay it off every month. And then once my ex-husband lost his job, we stopped using the credit card. We only used cash because then it was like you knew what you had.
Right.
And we did have a reserve, so that definitely helped. But yeah, I mean, money is a touchy subject.
Yeah.
I could see that being an issue.
I feel like we discuss money openly amongst each other, and I think we're both on the same page when we have our discussions, and our future goals are aligned. So when we have these, it's not like, hey, I want to invest this much money, and she's not, it's not like she's saying, well, I want a new car. Like that doesn't happen. We're like, hey, I think we have this extra money coming in. Let's invest in this. Great idea. Let's plan for our future.
Yeah.
Right. So
I do have a role reversal though in my relationships because I used to handle all the bills, all the finances, payments, everything. Now I don't. And it freaks me out a little bit.
But there's no secrets. I mean,
I have 100% trust in him, or else I wouldn't be with him.
I see. I think that's how they do it in Japan. The woman handles all the bills.
Yeah. Most households in America, I think the woman handles the bills. Most men don't want to deal with it. Right. So they have no idea what's going on financially.
So they just make the money.
They just make the money and say, here you go, give me my allowance. And, and I think that's, remember me saying at one point that you need to commit some time. I use Mondays and I look at, all my business expenses and finances. Well, I also take a portion of that day and look at my personal finances, what our credit card bills are, what our spending is, what our cash reserves are, what our investments are. I look at that every week. Everybody should be doing that. Even couples. Like, hey, let's just sit down and talk for 30 minutes about what do we got going on. Like what if I said, hey, I'm running light this week. Let's ease off on, all right, so we're not going out to eat, or we're not doing this, or we're not doing that. And like,
it's not a question.
It's not, it's just that's the plan. You have to manage your finances,
Because I've lived it before. I know, like, okay, buckle down,
Going the catastrophe of your divorce. Has your life improved after all of the shit that you had to go through?
Oh, yeah.
Financially, emotionally, was it worth it?
Yes. I mean, I didn't do it for, financial reasons. It's definitely easier financially with two incomes. I mean, I still work. So, whereas before when I was a single mom, it sucked. Yeah.
I see.
It
so
was
even
tough.
with kids. I see.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people keep themselves in marriages because they're financially tied and they feel like they can't do it on their own.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yep.
But no, you only have one life.
Yeah. Was it like that for you as well, Ryan?
It was financially, if it was tough during the divorce, but I guess I had a bunch of assets at the time. I just had to divvy up those assets. I didn't have a lot of debt to go through. So
it took him longer to
it took me longer to go through it,
yeah.
to go through the process. But I don't feel like I don't want to say that I struggled or didn't struggle, but there was sacrifices made. But I mean, I just manipulated my plan into continuing my overall future, right? I just sacrificed here, cut that out, invested here, did this. I did whatever I had to do to get where I want to be. So I can't say that I was struggling or it was tight. You know, there was times that money was tight, and you know, you have bills on, you know, 3 or 4 different bills that you're copying and having to, and making things work. And but I can't say that I was suffering or struggling. I made sacrifices, but right.
Yeah, and my divorce came just as my oldest was graduating high school. So we had college to think about, you know, it was.
So your kids were older when you went through that?
My oldest, yeah, I think she was 18.
What was your youngest?
9.
9. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. How did they, like, was there a difference in how they took the divorce? Like from the age differences?
Of course,
like the
yeah.
age
I mean,
gap?
I think, you know, my youngest was kind of really oblivious to what it meant. Whereas the older kids, I had children from 9 to 18. The older kids, it definitely affected them more.
More.
Yeah.
That's what I was
because
thinking.
they're adolescents. They're, with their peers who, ask questions and make comments. And yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was more difficult for, one than others, but I saw it as more difficult for the older kids.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I made that comment earlier, where I think that you have early teenagers or young adults who are dealing now with adult issues, but have no experience being an adult, so they don't know how to cope. They revert a little bit to being a child, and they listen to their friends who, what do their friends know? They don't have any experience either. So I think as they're in those teenage years, it becomes much more difficult because they're entering into a new world of emotions and experiences that they have no experience on.
It's a very judgmental time,
right.
I see.
in anyone's life.
So divorce as a financial reset. Show how separation often becomes a brutal financial reset and how legacy thinking prevents it. So like, let's say that there's a marriage, one person's thinking like generational wealth, the other person is kind of financially ignorant in a way.
Yep.
Could a divorce in some scenarios be a good thing for a financial reset?
For the person who's a little financially ignorant?
Yeah, so here's some facts. The average divorced man needs 5 years to recover financially. The average divorced woman loses over 40% of her income within a year. Divorced lawyers make billions annually from emotional financial fallout. What advice would you give to someone rebuilding after a divorce of financial collapse? And could you relate to those facts?
I never got close to financial collapse during my divorce, so I can't really relate to that. However, going through that experience, I could see or understand how bad it could be if a couple had very little assets, tons of debt, and they both had to split up debt, and there's not a lot of asset, and then mom and or dad have to cut back on work because there's now individual parenting time, right? So now they're not working as much because they have to be home for picking kids up from school and all that kind of stuff, or having to get daycare. Daycare is very expensive. After school programs are expensive. So I can definitely see that happening, but you have to make sacrifices, right? Things are not going to be the same as they were before because life has totally changed for everybody. So to recover from that, I feel like the principles that I talk to about individuals are also applicable to both individuals of a divorced couple, right? So, okay, we have to reset. What do I do first? We build an emergency fund, whatever that is, 3 to 12 months, right? Okay, now I got to pay myself first, right? I have to make a bunch of sacrifices. Kids have to understand that there's very limited coming in. Maybe it's time that when the kids are with mom and or dad, the other partner goes into high gear on their side hustle to make a little bit extra to make things. So there's definitely ways to get around it, but a lot of sacrifices come with it, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was an important part of my experience, we did have that cushion, and we were both realistic about it and saw that there really wasn't a lot. And in the short amount of time that we did have to use a lawyer, it really it really made a dent in our little nest egg. And we were both like, this is crazy.
Right.
Like, we're going to have nothing, at the end. So let's be reasonable and civil about this. And
Right. You almost have to look at it like, if we go to lawyers, lawyers are going to bleed. Like I said, they're going to keep you arguing until there's no money left. So you have to ask yourself, all the assets that we have, whether it's a lot of assets or a little assets, am I so angry that I would rather give it to an attorney or use it for my children or my future going forward? Right? Would I rather? That's really the answer. Do I want to give it to an attorney who's going to take all of it? He's going to keep me arguing. He's going to keep me arguing until there's nothing left. Or do I want to mediate or be reasonable and retain those assets for my kids' future, my future, my partner's future? Even if you have a bunch of assets and you're divvying it up, why would you want to argue and give it to an attorney when you could both split it up and say, okay, I've not hit rock bottom. I took a loss, but here we go. I can continue to move forward. Okay. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right, let me give you guys a scenario, and then I want to hear both of your. All right, this is just a hypothetical.
All right, here we go.
All right, let's say that there's a marriage. There's 3 kids involved. Let's say the man's making like $7,000 a month, and let's say that the wife's making $3,000 a month, right? And they're kind of like, they're not so open financially with each other.
Okay.
Let's say one of those, like one of the parents wants to get a divorce, right? How would that look exactly financially if the other person doesn't want to get a divorce, but one does, and they're going to fight them to the bone? Like, how does that work in that scenario? How do like the assets get split up? Like, what does that look like?
It's kind of the chance you take.
It's a chance you take.
Right? I mean,
so
you can't contest a divorce in New Jersey. It's like
right. If one person wants to be divorced,
right.
then it goes through.
Then
you
it
can't
goes
you can't
through.
say I don't want to get divorced. You can't force somebody to stay married to you. Right.
Yeah.
So, but then once you file for divorce, that's it, right? You're filing for divorce.
Does that cost anything?
Filing, I think there's a court fee or something. It's very insignificant to the whole process.
Okay.
A couple $100 maybe.
Is it possible to get divorced with spending absolutely no money?
No, a mediator is going to cost. A lawyer is going to cost. They're going to want retainers up front.
You need a lawyer to do this.
You don't. You don't need a lawyer.
Don't, but it's a good idea.
Right.
Why? Because there's finances involved? The splitting of assets?
There's always, yeah. I mean, we didn't have a lot of assets. We had the house and 401k and, our savings account, which wasn't huge, but it was something. But, you still have to split everything. It's half and half.
Right.
Just because, one makes less than the other, it's still.
Everybody's entitled to live an equal lifestyle.
I see.
Yeah. So there's a misconception going around, and at least in my experience, talking legally, you hear a lot of people saying, I'm entitled to live the lifestyle that I have been living. And that's not really the case. You're both entitled to live an equal lifestyle.
And if one person has not been contributing, not working, but they have the capability to do so, they'll make that person get
work.
A job. If you are, in a career, I had to go back to work full time, even though I had been home. As a full-time mom, I had to go back to work full time.
Right. So she had to go back full time and then
4
juggle
kids.
picking up kids from school and who's going to take care of who.
You don't just get to ride it out, especially when you're capable.
It's crazy that 50% of marriages end up in divorce. I wonder what the other 50%, what percentage of those people who remain together actually want to do it, but they don't want to go through the whole nightmare of doing it.
Yeah,
So
I don't-
they
It
stay
happens.
together for the
It
kids.
happens.
Yeah, I'm
sure.
sure it happens. You know, people who just
definitely
swallow their
happens.
pride and
Yeah.
are just like, you know, I'm just gonna. This is my life, and I'm gonna go through it. Right. I want to be happy. I mean, I need to be happy. There's got to be a reason for living this life. Right. I couldn't imagine.
You only have one.
Right. You only have one. I couldn't imagine just being miserable day in and day out. It doesn't work for me. Some people can do that. I'm not one of those people.
But is it selfish, like to say I need to be happy, but also at the expense of the kids? Like, but will the kids end up being happier because you end up being happier as a parent?
Well, kids are very perceptive and they pick up on a loveless home.
Yeah, I think I was
They're
just
not
just
stupid.
talking about this before
Yeah.
you joined us.
Even subconsciously,
smart.
you're saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're smart, you know.
Like
and
lack
to
of
stay-
affection.
Yeah.
lack of-
To stay in it for the kids when you're sleeping in separate bedrooms or not speaking to each other or going out separately. You know, like they pick up on all of that.
Right.
They're not stupid. And, you know, what is that teaching them? How to build a relationship. So although it might seem selfish, in the end, is it?
Yeah, I think our goal as parents is to raise children who are going to be good members of society, who can adapt and be flexible and are compassionate and caring, and right. We don't want to raise, right? You don't want to raise assholes,
Right.
right? You want to raise good kids to become good people, better people. So,
But you
yeah.
also want to paint a good picture of what love is, what affection is, right?
Of course.
Like to your kids, right? And if you don't have that with your current partner, for whatever reason, you just married the wrong person
Right.
and it took you this long to figure it out.
That's true. Yeah, people change, people grow. You know, people
Yeah.
have vices. You know, maybe people drink, maybe people do drugs. You know, and
Yeah.
that you don't see that in the beginning, or maybe it was hidden, or
Yeah.
or maybe you just don't agree financially on your future. I mean, that could be 37% of the people. You know,
That's wild.
that's a lot. So, you know, maybe some people don't agree on. They're great together, but when they have children, they don't agree on raising children. How do you discipline? How do you want to raise them? And that becomes an argument. So there's tons of things to go through to make sure that you're compatible and to make a lasting relationship.
Right. And to bring this all together, at the end of the day, whether you're married, divorced, or single, the question is, what are you building that outlives you? Like, as far as generational wealth, we're speaking.
Right.
So if every family started investing even $100 a month into something like CINO, any kind of crypto, how different do you think their kids' future would look?
I think if done right and properly invested assets can change a child's life, but it's got to be done. Like, all you're doing is you're going to be able to afford them the education that they deserve. You're going to be able to afford them a helping hand. But I think comes a point where you have to be able to help them without giving them everything, because then they just become spoiled assholes,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And we don't want that either. We
Right.
want to raise good kids who understand the value of a dollar, who want to earn on their own, who want to be productive on their own. They want to be better than their parents. So, yes, if we invested in CINO in 20 years, it does what Bitcoin's doing, right? That's great. I would love to leave all of our kids tons of stuff, but not until they're 35 or 40. Like, they have to go through the struggles of life, you know, to earn their own, to be their own people, and then have this great windfall that maybe they can retire at 45 or 50 or whatever, where we're going a little bit further. So it's all about what you want for your children. You know, if you just want to give, trust me, you are going to be in for a rude awakening. Yeah, that's not the people
No.
that you want to raise.
They need to understand real life, how it works. You don't want to raise little monsters.
Right. So,
Yeah.
So communication is key.
I mean,
When it comes-
absolutely. Yeah. And expectations as well.
What lessons from your own marriage or parenthood made you realize how powerful long-term planning is?
It's tough, right? So my parents were not long-term planners. Both my parents were immigrants from Europe. All they did was work, and try to build the best life possible. So what I learned early, Ryan learned that. Later in life, Ryan learned that those are all the wrong things, and I need to change my ways if I wanted to change my future. So what I learned from my parents were the wrong things. Not to upset them. They worked hard and they tried to give me the best life possible. But there was, I remember my dad passing. I was 26 or 27 when he died. And I remember my mom and I talking, and she's like, there's nothing. She has a mortgage on the house. There's nothing. His whole life equated to nothing. And I'm like, man, I don't ever want that.
Yeah.
I don't want me passing to be a burden on my partner.
Yeah.
Right? So I learned what not to do.
But your parents were extremely generous with you
They were.
growing up.
They absolutely
he had
were.
all the things, all the toys,
Yeah.
all the
Yes,
gadgets,
I agree.
all the things. So my parents, completely opposite.
Completely opposite.
My father, for as long as I can remember, has been invested in the stock market. Always had a plan, always had a nest egg, always involved in saving, budgeting. He's an accountant. Growing up, I don't want to say, I didn't get anything. I definitely had what I needed, but I didn't have, all the things, My Little Pony and Strawberry Shortcake. Like I didn't get every single thing that came down the pike, as far as toys and gifts and, stuff like that.
Do you hear that, Dad? She still complains about not having the Barbie RV. She still.
I had the Corvette.
She had the Corvette, but not the motorhome.
Yeah. So, I also had to, when I started driving, I had to get my own car insurance, my own policy. I had to pay for my car insurance. I paid for my gas. I bought my own clothes. I mean, talking, when I was 16, 17 years old. And at the time, I was like, damn, what the heck?
Do you think those were good life lessons that you underwent?
So, reflecting back, back then I was, kind of like, this is tough. I worked. I started when I was 14. I picked strawberries at race farms. That's what I used to do.
Wow.
Yep. And I worked my butt off. But in hindsight, I appreciate it. I think it gave me a good foundation. It was a good life lesson. I kind of did the same thing with my kids.
I was going to ask.
Yes. No, they all started working when they were 15, 16 years old, saving money. They contribute to buying their car. They all have their own insurance policies, all the same things. They pay for their own insurance. They pay for their gas. They help start paying for their clothing, other things that they want. I just think it teaches them responsibility for the future. They understand that they have to save money. They can't spend every dollar that they make at work. And I'll tell you, I have 3 college graduates already, and they all have full-time, successful jobs, careers that they're, so I don't know. Myself, I graduated college when I was 20 years old. I became an RN. Yeah. I bought my first house when I was 19. My first car when I was 20. What year was that? A long time ago. So, I think it definitely taught me some good life lessons, on how to save money and be responsible.
Came down to your parents then.
Yeah.
How do you feel about all this, Ryan?
I agree 100%. I did it a little bit differently, and some of it bit me in the foot.
How so?
I gave my kids a lot of the, great educations and opportunities, and I don't think I don't want to say that they don't appreciate it, because I think they did appreciate it. I just think that they they didn't have that value it was harder for me to teach them the value later on than starting from the beginning. So I have great kids. I love all the kids. I'm not knocking any one of them. I just feel that it was harder to teach the lessons later on in life than earlier. If I had to go back, I probably would have wanted to teach them those lessons earlier in life than later on, because it's a bigger shock. Like, imagine being 16 and getting a car and you have to pay for your own gas and insurance, and if you want to drive, or me having to teach that lesson at 20. Like, I'm done. I'm not saying I did it at 20. I don't even remember when it was, but you're on your own. Dude, whoa, what are you talking about? I'm not ready for this. Well, you should have been ready 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So I just think it's harder to teach the lesson later on than it is to teach from the beginning.
I see.
So, but nobody gives you instruction manuals with these kids. Nobody, I had to learn from my parents what not to do. Michelle learned what to do. She struggled. I didn't struggle in the beginning, right? We didn't, but we're at the same point now. It's just when do you teach the lessons and when do you learn and you figure it out. So, yeah, I think we have great kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even through all the hardships you've been through.
Yeah, I think our kids are
Divorce.
great. They're working hard and they're
Very well rounded, and
Yeah, absolutely. I think our kids are great.
not to toot our own horns.
Right. No,
we
I
did
think we
pretty
did a good job. I think, it could be so much worse.
Yeah.
So, it's never perfect. There's always an issue with one of them, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
I think
That never ends.
Right,
There's
that never
always going
ends.
to be something. You think as they get older, it gets easier. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
it just gets
Well,
harder.
they also say that children of divorced parents end up having more problems, but it's not always necessarily the case.
I think that all stems from the parents and how it's, and how they
handle the divorce.
how they handle the
Yeah.
divorce,
Make the kids the priority.
Right. And everything
they're
you
okay.
say and do and the
Yes.
way you behave affects those kids. So you have to really think about things you say, things you do, things you say to your friends that you don't think your kids are overhearing. They hear everything.
And they shouldn't be your therapist.
They shouldn't be your
You
therapist.
shouldn't be talking about
Yep. I'm guilty of that.
the divorce. Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. So yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot as I'm getting older. I hope that we can share a little bit and help some other people who are thinking about going through it or the children are the absolute priority. They're not your therapist. Don't talk to them about it. It's not their business. Console them and be there for them. And if they have questions or concerns, be honest about it. Don't knock the other partner, because remember, your partner who you may hate, that's their mom or dad.
Right.
And
Right.
no matter what happens, they love that person.
Right.
And you should want them to love that person and want them to have a good relationship, even if you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I see. All right.
Yeah. Because your problems aren't their problems.
right.
Really, it has to be separated.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the things that I say for single people, right, apply to married people as well, but 2 times, right? So if you're creating an emergency fund for 3 to 12 months, remember you have to create an emergency fund for 3 to 12 months for 2 people, or 3 or 4 or 5, depending on how many kids. Like, you have to pay all your expenses. So both parents should be contributing to that 3 to 12 month emergency fund. Both parents who are working should be contributing to Pay Yourself First, 10%. All that. Both parents should be contributing to investing in their future and their children's future. Right? That's how you make generational wealth. You have to make the sacrifices. You have to do what's right for your future at the cost of maybe going out to dinner tonight, or, buying the Barbie RV. You're just getting the Corvette now. So, yeah, I mean, it's what's better about being in a relationship, though, is, if you have 2 people investing in emergency fund and all that, that's 2 apartments they have to pay for. And 2, when you join forces, that's 1 house you live under. So you're joining forces and you have 2 people contributing to 1 future, as opposed to 2 people contributing to 2 futures. Right?
I see.
So, all
Interesting.
right, you understand where I'm coming from when I say that?
Yeah.
So Michelle says I overtalk sometimes, and she's going to nudge
Do you
me.
think he overtalks, Michelle?
Tells me to shut
Oh,
up.
never.
Do you want to do the outro, Michelle?
The what?
The outro?
What is that?
Thank you for tuning in to the CINO Legacy Podcast.
Go for
I'm
it.
your co-host, Michelle CINO, the wife of Ryan CINO,
I mean, if you want.
wallet holder number 2.
No,
she's
I'm
not. She's not.
No, I think
10, right?
I'm 10.
Wow.
Yeah, she's wallet holder. All her own money. She invested the first week before we went to
Alright.
Africa, right? Or was it after Africa?
I should tell about the text message that you sent me.
You
about
should.
This.
You should. Go
Let's
ahead.
hear it.
Do it. So on March 20th.
So on March 20th, I was working at one of the surgical centers that I work at. I was in the operating room all morning, so can't have my phone. So I didn't see the message for a couple hours, probably 3 or 4 hours. And come out of the operating room, check my phone, and I have a message from him saying, I started my own crypto coin. And I was like, what? Why? What's the name? You know, and he said CINO Token. And I was like, okay, awesome.
Yeah. But when I told you that it was an impulsive thing that
It
I have
totally was.
like
yeah.
we hadn't discussed it the night before.
Yeah.
That's why it's funny because that
I
happens
still
often.
have it. Still have the
That
text
happens.
message.
I'm like, hey, I'm doing this.
It wasn't premeditated.
It's definitely
No.
it definitely was
and
not.
I don't question anything because his brain is always going.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, honey,
Yeah.
Okay. What does this mean for us?
best of luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally an impulse thing. But it's just like, hey, I started my own crypto coin. You did what?
Yeah, I was like,
What's it called? Why?
Why?
Was it
Okay.
an ongoing conversation after that? Like
No.
night after night?
No.
Night? No.
No, it kind of ended. I mean, we went to Africa a week later.
Right.
You know, we definitely talked about it here and there, but he was not on his phone on vacation.
Right. That's what's one of the rules
That was
that I
one of-
try to follow is that.
Is there service in Africa?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
actually good service.
It
Yeah.
was great. Yeah.
But I try to
But-
when I'm vacationing or when I'm
Yeah,
when
try
I'm
to ignore your
doing
phone.
when I'm doing family
Family
time,
time.
I try to not
Be on your phone.
work. I try to be present.
I see.
It's very hard for me because I'm always there's like my brain doesn't stop working. Well, all that stuff is information's coming in all the time. So I'm like, I gotta check this. What's going on?
But whatever it is, I'll always support him. 100%.
It's on video.
He's a go-getter. You know, I
He's going to pull up
trust-
this clip every
I
time.
trust
Every time
what
you
he
say.
says and his decisions, and yeah,
well, thank you for that.
I'll always support him.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Because that's tough too when you're in a relationship that you don't always get support. That's tough because, like I said, my brain is just constantly going. There's always opportunities, or I'm looking at this, or what if we did this, and if you have somebody that's on your side going, that's silly, or that's dumb, or I don't think you should do that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I ask a million questions,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he loves that.
Oh, I love it.
He loves it.
Burst-
Are
Bursting
you more
with-
grounded? So you're like more of like the realistic kind of like, why are you doing this? And she
Yeah.
puts
Absolutely,
you in check almost. A little
absolutely,
bit.
and I
Sure.
need that.
Yeah,
I
that's good.
I need
Yeah,
that.
because sometimes after we talk about it,
Yeah, I'm like-
realistically, it's not a good idea, you
Right.
know. But
So, but sometimes
this-
like I was just talking to somebody at work about, they were like, oh, I'm not invested in this because I think of, 10 or 20 things that can go wrong. And I'm like, well, then you failed already. Why are you not thinking of what can go right? If you're thinking of all the bad things,
point.
if you think of all the bad things, then you've already failed. You're never going to pull the trigger because you're worried about all this stuff. I'm like, focus on all the things that can go right. I have a problem with that because all I do is focus on what can go right. And she kind of like says, hey, well, what about
That's
this?
my problem too.
sometimes I try to.
Yeah, she's like, well,
reel
what
him
about this?
in.
Or what about
Yeah.
that? Did you think about this? Or you think about that? I'm like, oh, come on, you're just trying to knock me down. And she's like, no, we're having an honest conversation
great.
of where this can go. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe that's a bad idea. Or I didn't think about this. Or so yeah, definitely helps me she definitely keeps me grounded or not too far into outer space.
I see. No, that's
But
great.
even with the token, I think my biggest concern was, what if it doesn't work? What if it goes bad and half the town and community is invested in this? We still have to live here, because people get crazy,
Yeah.
with their pitchforks,
Yeah,
knocking on
pitchforks
your door.
Yeah.
And, so that was kind of my biggest concern. But
Now we're like 7 months in. How you feeling now? Good? Better?
I I'm fine.
Okay.
Totally fine.
Right.
Totally supportive. No. I thought of that
Well,
for a brief moment. And then I was like, you know what though? If I'm going to have doubts in him, then this isn't going to work.
right. So, and because of that conversation though,
Yeah.
I've never asked anybody to buy. I've never tried to sell
would never
anybody
push
something.
it on-
I'm never pushing it on anybody.
We were in Africa
Oh.
with a woman from Blairstown.
Oh.
Yeah, we went on like a group trip safari, and after we came home and she started seeing this stuff on social media, she texted me personally and she was like, Michelle, I was away with you for 10 days, sitting next to you every meal in the safari jeep. You guys never once mentioned this CINO
You didn't
token.
know though at the time.
Well,
No,
it's not.
and I said,
but I
like-
could have said that. I could have been, "Hey, I'm starting this new
Yeah.
thing. You should invest." And
I
I'm
think
not
there was
doing
one
that.
couple that we like kind of mentioned it to just in passing.
Right.
Brenda, we never even brought it up to her, and she was like, I can't believe it. Thank you for joining us on the CINO Legacy Podcast, where we are talking about all things crypto, real life situations, relationships, building generational wealth, financial stability.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for offering me, or thank you, everybody, for giving me your time, which is your most valuable commodity. I appreciate you spending your time watching these videos. Your comments, questions, concerns. I appreciate all your support, continued, past, present, and future. Thank you very much. I'm Ryan CINO, founder of CINO Token.
I am Michelle CINO, Ryan CINO's wife.
I'm just some random guy.
Some random dude.
My name's Michael Farnolo. I'm the co-host of the CINO Legacy Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We
Thank you,
appreciate
everyone.
your time.